What's up, everybody? Welcome into this week's episode of the Rapala Collegiate Bass Podcast, leading up to ICAST here really soon. Looking forward to see a lot of the anglers out there on the floor. Members of the Campbellsville University bass fishing team are going to be present, and today's special guest, as we were talking leading up to today, recording today's episode, new head coach David Walker. Him and several other anglers will be there in attendance in Orlando. Look forward to seeing them there. If you're at the show, stop by, see us, and say hello. The reason we've got David on today, as we've recently had Clint Davis on at Montevallo, former professional angler, now taking over a collegiate program. That's the same move that David Walker is making. David, welcome to the collegiate bass fishing ranks. And just real quick, kind of want to gauge and get your interest and excitement level of being able to be around these younger anglers and be a part of college fishing as a whole in your new role.
Yeah, it is. I'm going to be a 60-year-old freshman this year going into it, so it's going to be a unique experience. But I'm looking forward to it because there wasn't any high school or college fishing like back when I first started in this. This is all kind of exploded here recently, and it is growing by leaps and bounds. It's a very popular thing. And, I think seeing some of the guys that did fish the big tournament trails, maybe made a career out of it, or at least have some of that background experience, I think is going to be something you're going to see more and more of. It's almost strange to say that it really hasn't happened before, but it really hasn't happened before. And, I think this is going to be, I think it's going to be a trend that you're going to see going into the future.
Yeah, your experience at the professional level, kind of want to lean on that as I ask this next question. Clint and I were talking about it on the previous episodes, and, his kind of age demographic, year class of anglers, for lack of a better term, in the late aughts. Myself, I graduated in 2013, and then on to now, you look back, you've got Clint. I think Brandon Card was in some of those early groups, University of Kentucky. Jordan Lee was one of the first real big ones to make that jump. And that was kind of a polarizing, for that matter, from college to pro. And then now, within the last 6, 8, 10 years, as you were competing on the Bass Pro Tour, you've got Cole Floyd, Drew Gills made that leap, Banks Shaw this year. There's been others over the last few years, but that instant gratification, these kids move from college onto that next level, the way that the system's set up for them to be able to move, they can do it quickly. And so you've seen an influx of them here over the last couple of years. Talk a little bit about maybe what has impressed you with both their professionalism and how they carry themselves, and also their ability to catch fish with the best of the guys out there at any lake they go to.
Yeah, I think you hit on a lot of points there that are really correct. And I think we're seeing a whole new wave of anglers that, the progression has changed quite a bit from when you're a rookie fisherman to where you really become a seasoned fisherman. Used to take years and years, and most of that had to do with just the amount of information that was available to you. Way back when, I used to have to learn how to do whatever technique it was, or find out what happened at the event, or what they were doing when they won it, or what was the preferred tactic. And I'd have to wait on the magazine to show up, which might have been months later, or read articles that were written about this technique or that, and then go out and apply it yourself and see what worked and what didn't. Nowadays that information is literally in your pocket. You can just pick up the phone. There's a endless supply of videos and tutorials and how-tos, and the information that you get about what's going on at the event or the tournaments is it's live. It's no longer waiting to see how it's going. Like, you can watch it as it happens live. And so the information game has really changed the way the anglers are approaching tournaments. And you still need some of that experience, but honestly, they're showing up very well equipped, very armed for the task. And I think, for me, I think that's probably going to be one of those things that I'm really going to have to work on, is sort of helping them along with, okay, you've got all the tools, here's where we need to go with that. This is what to expect when you get out there. Kind of sharing my experience with it on some of the things that maybe aren't so, Googled. How to drive the boat, how to launch the boat, how to make those decisions based on weather, changing conditions, things like that. A lot of that is, experience related, and so I really feel like I'm going to be able to help a lot of them with that. And for me, working as a team is something that I'm interested in, because we never really do that in the tournaments. You may work with some of your buddies, or kind of knock some ideas around. How'd you catch? Did you do well today? Did you catch very many? Or for just kind of a sounding board, just to ask, just to see if you're in the ballpark. But I think with a team format where they're really working together as a team to succeed is a unique opportunity for me, and I think for them as well, because a lot of them are going to be, kind of used to working with a partner maybe, but not as a group. We've got 26 anglers on our roster right now, and they're from all over. We can north, south, east, and west, and we got some freshmen coming on. They're from Minnesota's. We've got some seasoned fifth year seniors on there that are going to be really invaluable as this teaching them and me kind of how this whole game is played, the college fishing level. But I think it's going to be a learning experience for a lot of us. But I really expect that I think we have all the makings of the ingredients that we need to really make something really special out of this. And so I'm looking forward to a big year. And I I got a lot of great kids. I've spoke to all of them, the ones that are coming on and the ones that have been there for a while, and their enthusiasm is contagious. There's a lot of it out there. They are super excited about it, and they're all looking forward to it. There was a lot of big smiles and high fives at the last. I got to go to the high school event and met quite a few of them there, and they were talking about how excited they are about the season coming and the future of it. And I feel the same that way. I think it's going to be really. I think it's going to be a great experience for all of us.
The excitement and energy of change, sometimes is all the catalyst it takes to kind of rocket ship something to the next level. You watch college sports, and every once in a while, a beloved head coach might leave a school and they promote an assistant, and it's the most favorite thing to see the student athletes react and respond to having somebody in the room that they want to go to work for and go to battle with. And it sounds like you got that building already there at Campbellsville with the anglers that are on the team and set to come in. Also, in that response you gave, interesting to hear your take of what you yourself, an accomplished professional angler for many, many years, just as Clint was when we had him on recently, as well as we kind of keep going back because the conversations are sort of similar, and he was talking about what he was going to provide from his knowledge and background and how that would translate to the anglers. And you yourself, same thing as you mentioned, helping them to figure out how to unload the boat, making decisions based on weather patterns, and all that is definitely invaluable knowledge for these college anglers to take in from a very respected source such as yourself, along with what you want to provide in terms of on the water expertise, knowledge, background, helping them be successful tournament anglers. Another key component to just being part of a team, as you referenced, is just building up this group, this camaraderie, a brotherhood. A lot of adjectives to describe it, but I saw the press release put out by the school, and there's a lot of different little nuggets in there hidden about, making them better people, different ideas, thoughts, just ways to build them up and be constructive. Talk a little bit about maybe what you hope to bring at a personal level to this position in a professional role as their coach.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I think as a coach, you're going to have to be more than just sort of the person that is showing them how to do something, right? You're going to have to also be the person that motivates them to especially in those times when you're not very motivated. The take off the first morning, you can be very motivated. You can be very fired up. 7 hours into the 8 hour day and you haven't caught one yet, it can be the most least motivating moment of your fishing career. But just trying to help them know that those things are coming, and let them know that they're not alone in that this is something that is going to be part of what they're doing. There's mechanics of the fishing, obviously, the casting, the throwing, the retrieving, just the mechanics of it. But the mental attitude about it is probably even more important. And with them being young, I think there's a really good opportunity, because the older you get, the easier it is to get into a habit. I just sort of, I kind of know how this is going to go, and I know how that's going to be. And when you're younger like that, you still have time to not make those bad habits. So I want to really get them on the right track to where those habits they make when things aren't going well doesn't mean it's the end of the day. The end of the day is not until it is the end of the day, when you have to check in. And it's not over until that point. And I want them to realize that and know it, and to work together too, and to know they have a support group, and they know that they are not out there, just on their own flailing around. And if there's a time when they just really feel that way, but when when you got a group of support like that, it makes those tough times a lot easier. And I think that really getting them motivated and showing them through that, because when it comes to the fishing business, tournament fishing, you better get a thick skin, because anybody can stand on stage and hold the trophy. That's easy. I mean, that is just fun. I mean, there's nothing like it. But I think the ones that really show their grit and they're tough are the ones that keep coming back, even if they didn't get their shot at the trophy, even if they go for the next time. And so I really want to build them up with that and let them know that they're working hard at it will pay off. And I think that's going to be probably one of my main focuses to let them know too, is that, you see somebody is, say something to them like, hey, look, I know you wanted it, you lost one, but it happens, line broke, what have you, fish died. There's so many of those. There's so many of those hurdles and pitfalls in a tournament day that I think knowing about those beforehand and kind of coming up with a game plan as how to handle that and how to, use it as a learning lesson, but just keep moving on. That's, that cast is over with, us on to the next one. And so I think that's going to be something that I'm going to spend a lot of time with as well, because, look, you can see how good they are at what they do at a young age. We've got classic champions now that are same age as the kids that I'm going to be coaching. And so their skill set is obviously good, but how do you take and just make that better? How do you make them to where that they're also going to have a longevity? Teach them about things that are going to happen. There's times of the year when, knowing what the shad are going to be doing, knowing when the bluegills are spawning, knowing when they're mayfly, knowing those things that all tend to be a part of the puzzle, and expecting those and using that to your advantage is going to be, I think, probably one of the biggest lessons that I can learn, I can teach them, is that experience and showing them and telling them about it. And, we got a variety of waters, highland reservoirs, hillland reservoirs, rivers, tidals, you name it, naturally. So they're going to encounter a lot of different environments. Maybe they've never fished before. They are young. They haven't fished a lot of places. They may know the techniques, but teaching them about how to navigate around and those things like that, and being safe about it. And I think just kind of building good habits is probably going to be one of the most important parts of my job, I believe.
We're talking with David Walker, new head bass fishing coach there at Campbellsville University. I have to chuckle just a little bit in what you pointed out in your response of keeping them motivated. It's always funny, and without fail, it always happens on the second day of the event. That first day, there's kids beating the staff to the ramp because they can't wait to get in the boat in the water and get the day started. And on that second day, boy, everybody's about, depending on how your first day went, there's portions of the field of which they're 30 to 45 minutes later to arrive to the ramp on the second day. And that little bit of energy and juice maybe got the life sucked out of them on the first day. But you got to keep going. You never know when those big fish are going to bite, and you can make a big jump, as it happens at any level, from back in the standings towards the front. And staying motivated and on top of your game helps you to be prepared to capitalize if an opportunity like that is presented. David, moving along here, a couple questions I wanted to ask. In your role here now, head bass fishing coach at Campbellsville University, talk a little bit, if you can, about how this opportunity came to be. What was your interest level? Were you already kind of flirting with this idea? Did it just kind of present itself? Talk about how this all came to where now today we're talking to you with the title of head bass fishing coach there at Campbellsville University.
Mm. Yeah, I guess kind of my way I got started with it was because of my daughter Lily. So Lily and I, we fished together a lot, and we would fish kids tournaments and things like that. And then when she was in high school, she wanted to fish some of the high school stuff because it was popular and kind of spreading around, and there was quite a few teams around in the area where I lived at, but the school that she went to did not have a high school team. And but I didn't know it, but then it was like, oh, well, unless you go to that school, you can't really fish on that team. And so next thing I know, we had to create a high school fishing team that was at the school that my daughter went to. And so I did captain with that. And Lily had grown up in the tournament business, and so she knew the tournament, the lingo and the lifestyle, and so she went through a few partners because they thought we was just going fishing. They didn't know it was tournament fishing, because if you've never done one or the other, they're not a lot the same. So, but tournaments and her got along. She's got that attitude. She's hilarious. It cracks me up how positive she can stay about it, and confidence. Her confidence is overwhelming. It really is. But being her coach for that high school deal, matter of fact, she fished her high school national championship by herself on the last day, and then so it was just me and her in a boat on her final high school event. But then when she went to college, of course, the local college had, where she was going, had a college team, and many of the boys that were on that team, we had cookouts, and they would come over, and I would talk to them about it, and I would ask them about, what's it like being on the college? What's it entail? And for the most part, they were kind of just doing most of it themselves as far as like the fishing, the coaching. It was more of I don't know, maybe a club, or they had a lot to do with what they were learning and how they were learning it. And I went to some of the college weigh-ins and what have you, and actually I know all the people that are running it as far as the tournament trails would go, and I'd speak to them, and what are you doing here, lily fishing? And they would ask me that. But I could see that it was like something that it was interesting to me, because it's right in my wheelhouse. I've been doing this for 30 years, and I always thought, I could see doing that, giving it a try anyway. It was interesting because I wanted to find out like more about it. But and so that's kind of where it sparked it. And then after my daughter graduated last spring. Now she's out. This will be her first year out of college. My youngest one is going to be starting now, though, so I'm still around in the college loop, so to speak. But now I'm going to be a head coach for a college, and there's a lot of colleges out there that have teams, and there's quite a few colleges that just really have more of like clubs. And Campbellsville was interesting to me, especially because they've had a great program for a long time, and the school is very supportive of it. I know some of the teams are, like I said, they're more of a club. They just kind of do it on their own. But with Campbellsville, we've got a boat shed for all the students that are on the team. They've got a place to store their boat, which is a big building that's open, and so we're all going to be in there together, like rig and tackle and stuff. And that, I think that's going to be probably our major classroom experience. Will be a lot of that in the boat shed. They've got a dozen vehicles, wrapped vehicles that the students are going to use to take their boats to the tournaments with as well. And for that. And the new AD, Adam, he's 100% behind it. He loves the fishing team. The school does as well. And so, kind of referring back to what I said earlier, the enthusiasm with the anglers and myself. Well, now we've also got the school as well, and so I think it's a great opportunity, really. And so I just want to give it a go, because I think it could be really fun, and it's good to be around the anglers that are brand new to it, because you almost forget that what it was like to be that excited about going fishing. Like, I love going fishing. I go fishing all the time, but for when you're around them and I mean, they can't stop smiling about it. Like, they're so, they just like it so much, and that's just fun to be around. And that mindset and that attitude it's enjoyable. So I'm looking forward to it.
Two more questions here as we keep moving right along. You mentioned in your response, obviously, Campbellsville having an established bass fishing team, finishing this last season ranked 11th in the Bass Pro Shop School of the Year presented by Abu Garcia. I don't believe they've ever finished a season ranked inside of the top 5, and have definitely, for sure, not won a title as the Bass Pro Shop School of the Year presented by Abu Garcia. Talk a little bit about what your game plan is and the driving force behind trying to, ultimately what is the goal for the team, maybe for the first year, for 5 years down the road, as it pertains to finishing as high up as possible in that national ranking system.
Well, I think as far as goals to set, you need to set goals, and aim high too, because there's no reason in shooting for top 10. We're going to aim for first, and that's what we want to, that's a goal that we want to achieve. And you always want to have goals like that, winning events, having, getting the first 3 places all be on a Campbellsville team, that there's just goals like that you want to set for yourself. But they also, you want them to be more of a stepping stone, not as like a pinnacle. Like, once you get there, then you stop. It's like, that is just the next step, and then we're going to do it again, and then we have to do that again. And I think that's the time when you really, I don't know if it might be harder to win it a second time than it is the first one. And so I think they're going to really be motivated to do that, and we're going to set some lofty goals. But that being said, at the end of the year, if you look back and you did everything you're supposed to do, and you don't have anything that you look back on that was really you could change. There's so many things that happen in seasons and events, and at the end of the year, like I look back on fish that just a single fish that comes off, it impacts the whole year. At the end of the year, it's like that. But did you really do anything different or wrong on that? Sometimes it's just a matter of just a little bit of luck one way or the other. And so you got to know that. You just got to put yourself in the position to get those opportunities to win. And so that's what I want them to all know to do. At the end of the day, they did as much as they can. They put in the work. They kept a strong attitude, and they fished as hard as they could. And then, it's kind of like looking at the score. You know what I mean? During a game, you just or a runner when he's leading the race, he keeps looking behind him. They always end up losing. So it's like do the work, and then at the end of it, we'll look back and see where we're at. And I'm sure they're going to have some. I'm sure they're going to have some accolades coming this way for the team, and because we've got such a good group and a really bunch of strong fishermen on there, and girls. We got a girl that's going to be on the team this year too, Allie. So, but we are going to be aiming for the stars, so to speak. We are going to aim high.
Last part of that answer probably rolls into what your response would be to this final question. But if there's a prospective angler out there, high school angler looking at wanting to come to college fishing, and you met them at a boat ramp or you're at their house sitting down having dinner and trying to convince them to come to Campbellsville University, what does a recruiting pitch sound like? What are you telling them to be able to let them know, hey, this is the place where you want to be, where you're going to succeed, and I can help you achieve whatever it is you want to do both on and off the water? Just speak to what you might tell someone as you're trying to pitch them on why they should come to Campbellsville University and be a part of your fishing team.
Sure. I think that in that sentence right there, team is probably one of the more important words of that. Is like, if you want to be on the Campbellsville team, then that's what it's going to be. You're going to have support, like I just mentioned, from the school to the athletic director, to the coaches, and the other students as well. That team environment is going to be something that you're going to really be able to learn from. You're going to have so many opportunities to learn from others and help each other, and learn to do the same. Learn how to work as a team. I think that's going to be really important. So I think mindset and desire to do well. There's a couple things that are hard to teach, and if you have that already, a lot of skills can be taught. The casting, retrieving, stuff like that. It just takes time, a little practice, and we work on things like that. But really, that desire to be on a team and want to win is something that I think, if you're motivated and you want to do well and you want to be on a team that you can be proud of to be on, then I think Campbellsville will be a great spot for you.
Well, you heard it there. There's the sales pitch. Talking to David Walker today, new head coach of the Campbellsville University bass fishing team. David, we appreciate the time here today. Look forward to seeing you and the anglers over at ICAST in Orlando coming up, as well as out on the tournament trail throughout this upcoming season. Best of luck to you all, and we'll see you guys soon.
Thanks so much.
I've never been so excited to release a bait that has such a unique action, unique sound, and it catches freaking biggins.
We've all heard the term size matters, and it does.
Dude, look at this.
I ain't saying it gets bigger bites, but it kind of does.